Welcome to the SportsBros podcast, featuring the almighty B-Live, the money man, Scottie D, and your host, the head of creative, Eddy Kool. And without any further ado, here they are, the SportsBros. What's going on, world? This be your boy, Eddy Kool, a.k.a. the HOC. And guess what? This is episode number 36 of the SportsBros podcast. Let me see. A famous 36, let's see. Jerome Bettis and Matthew Barnaby, who played for the Buffalo Sabres, a resident tough guy. Any other 36s you guys can think of off the top of the head?
Nah, I got nothing.
You got nothing?
No.
Okay, you got nothing?
Nope.
All right. Well, they got nothing on number 36. I got something on two of the bombest co-hosts in the world. Yeah, I can do that. First up, we got the almighty B-Live.
What's happening? What's going on in the world today? This be your boy. Check this out. I'm actually recording on site here at Max Speed Shop here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So you might hear some background noise. The brother's got to work this morning. But I'm doing this count, doing this inventory, make sure everything's copacetic. But yeah, there's always time for the Sports Bros. And I'll cry in the corner later about my Panthers, but you know what? It happens. All right, cool. We're moving on.
It is what it is. At least Clemson won, so you know. You got something to smile about. And speaking of something to smile about, as always, his Cowboys won and his Pitt Panthers won, so he has no reason to be spicy or frowny or Larry Longface. The one, the only, the money man, Scottie D.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys. You're lucky to have me.
Here we go.
It's a good thing I'm on your side instead of swinging helmets at you, because I'm going to set everybody straight on that whole situation here this week. Man, you know, I kind of wish that we were doing the podcast the day after the big Steelers-Browns melee from the other night, because I was a lot more fired up about it then. But got a lot to say on that, and just looking forward to sharing our thoughts with our listeners. Thank you all for tuning in. And if you're a new listener, where have you been? Glad to have you. Welcome aboard. So, Eddy Kool, take it away, brother. Let's get this thing on the road.
That's it. Our regulars, you know what time it is. New listeners, welcome in, as they say in Germany. Is it German? But you get it. Hey, how you doing? Come on in. Welcome. All right, and coming up first, we're going to talk about the week that was in the NFL, Week 11. It started off Thursday night with a brawl down by First Energy Stadium as the rivals, bitter rivals, the Cleveland Browns are on a 2-game win streak as they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 21-7. The Saints defeat the Buccaneers 31-17. The 49ers defeat the Cardinals 36-26. The Patriots defeat the Eagles 17-10. The Rams defeat the Bears on Sunday night 17-7. The Bills, how about the Bills, man? The Bills defeat the Dolphins 37-20. Scottie D's Cowboys go to the Motor City and take one away as they defeat the Lions 35-27. The Raiders, they beat the Bengals, and the Bengals are now 0-10. They might get that 0-16 distinction, and you don't want to have that hanging over your head. The Carolina Panthers, they dropped one to the Atlanta Falcons, 29-3. The Ravens defeats the Texans 41-7, and the Broncos, they lose one to the Vikings as the Vikings eke another one out against the Denver Broncos. As mentioned earlier, Thursday night, there was a melee with 8 seconds left between the Browns and the Steelers. Scottie D, would you like to opine on what in the hell happened Thursday night?
Boy, that was crazy. I was actually, when I first saw it, I was laughing at the absurdity of it. I was like, wow, he really just took his helmet and swung at him. It happened very fast. But everyone has seen this thing slowed down to super slow-mo 1,000 times at this point. And you cannot excuse what Myles Garrett did. That was basically using a weapon on somebody, the way he did that. But Now that it's all said and done, I really think Mason Rudolph has to be a little bit more culpable in this. He was a little more culpable in this, and he got nothing as far as suspension goes. And I have a little bit of a problem with that because, yeah, he took a shot to the head with a helmet, but in this day and age, when you see quarterbacks get slammed to the ground or barely even touched, and you're drawing a flag. He didn't get slammed to the ground here. The referee didn't even reach for a penalty flag in that situation. Myles Garrett pretty much pulled him down gently on top of himself so as to not draw a flag. And I think Rudolph was just frustrated because he had an absolutely atrocious night and was probably tired of getting roughed up. And he started it. I feel like, like you say in grade school, he started it. Well, he started it. He threw a little. He tried to pull his helmet. He threw a little kick, and then Myles Garrett, mind you, did not take off his helmet and try to hit him with it. He was backing away, and Rudolph chased the situation down and continued. And that's when he swatted at him with the helmet. If I hate to make it sound like I'm defending Myles Garrett because I'm really not, but I just feel like if Rudolph hadn't instigated it, it would have been, over and done with. Instead, Pouncey gets 3 games, which I think is too much because he's defending his guy. But honestly, what are these guys even doing in the game? Why is Myles Garrett in the game? They're up 14 with 7 seconds left. In Pittsburgh, why are you trying to score? You scored once in 59 minutes and 53 seconds. Now you're going to score 2 touchdowns in 7 seconds. What's the point of all that? Take a knee and go home. The whole situation could have been avoided. And, I actually kind of feel bad for Myles Garrett because he doesn't have the Ndamukong Suh reputation or Vontaze Burfict reputation. And he got hot and did something he shouldn't have done. And now the whole team's going to pay the price for it. But I just think that Rudolph needs to be held a little bit more accountable for his role in that situation.
Right. I think so, too. There was a picture circulating around on Facebook where you can see as plain as day Rudolph's foot planted in the nether regions of Myles Garrett. And I don't know about y'all, but if anybody going to kick me in my regions, a fight going to come with it. Plain and simple.
You might get hit with a helmet.
Huh?
You might get hit with a helmet.
Hey man, you better watch out, man. I'm saying, man, you just can't be up in that's bro code. You can hit me in the face, but just don't hit them regions, man. Stay up out them regions. Be live. What you got on the whole Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph situation?
Well, at the end of the day, there's a saying that goes, cooler heads will prevail.
Mm-hmm.
Like at some point in time, as a professional athlete, I understand emotions ride high, and a lot of things probably were said, kicked to the groin, but the swinging of the helmet, he had every opportunity just to let the helmet go.
Mm-hmm.
That's half the problem.
Very true.
Again, so that's one thing that I had a problem with was the fact that when he yanked the helmet off, then he was backing off. He still had the helmet in his hand. He had some type of intention with that helmet, and that's where I think the punishment came from was the fact that it wasn't the actual taking of the helmet. That's happened before. That happens a lot of times. But the fact that he held on to it, had 2 offensive linemen in front of him, and then when Mason Rudolph absolutely instigated it. But then just the fact that he still had it in his hand and now it became a weapon. That's where he got exactly what he deserved. Marquise Pouncey, he shouldn't have got suspended at all. That I don't see any bit of why he got suspended because that is his number one job. That's why offensive linemen get paid what they get paid to do to protect the quarterback in any situation. You know what I'm saying? Even after the play, whatever. They probably threw 3 games at him because of the kicking. He was kicking the guy in the head.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. I was like, why is he kicking him? Then punch him. He got a helmet on and pads on. What are we doing here?
Right. But, at the end of the day, like I said, Roger Goodell, because I think there's still more penalties to come.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're still assessing the situation. I think Mason Rudolph is looking at a fine. But, he definitely, he sucked. He absolutely sucked that game.
That might be the punishment for the Steelers. They're not going to suspend him.
Yeah.
Understandably so. But you know what I'm saying? Just the balance of it. That's what I think a lot of people are up in arms about right now. It's just the balance. Like you've got, I mean, I'm going to call a spade a spade. You've got two African American players getting suspended, and then you've got the one innocent such and such. I'm not going to go there, but you see where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
There's the underlying problem with that, and I'm not trying to make it about about race or anything like that, but that is it's sort of almost
It does have a suspect look to it. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, the quarterback, like I said, as you can see, there's a picture floating around of his foot going into his nether regions. And so him and Garrett get into a tussle on the ground. He goes at Garrett's helmet and doesn't get it. And then Garrett gets his Rudolph's helmet, yanks it, cleans off his head, and he's over here like, hey, give me my helmet, give him my helmet. You got David DeCastro like, look, back up. Like he's in the middle between Garrett and Rudolph. And, we got Pouncey, everybody coming over. Larry Ogunjobi coming over, who also got suspended as well, too. And I think some more guys got suspended from coming off the bench on the Cleveland side of things. And then next thing you know, El Cabong happens. And now we're dealing with, Myles Garrett, looking like a bad guy. I mean, living in Cleveland, man, the city loves Myles Garrett. They love him, and he's, he spends times with the kids off the field, man. Hey, the dude writes poetry. He's not a thug. He's not a villain. I just believe that, hey, it's a classic case of, emotions riding high. It's been the season for both teams has not lived up to expectations. And so, be live to quote a famous woman by the name of Mercedes Logan, we here now.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of rival, and I say there's a lot of trash talking here, there, and everywhere. It's unfortunate that game ended that way, because one thing I was listening to was the simple fact that the Cleveland Browns look like they're hitting their stride. They're riding the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And after pretty much the defense doing what they did against Pittsburgh, granted, I'm gonna say this is the point that needs to be made, is the fact that Pittsburgh was playing shorthanded.
Yep.
They were already with a backup quarterback. They already lost their lead receiver and lead wide receiver from last season. Mm-hmm. So and now during the game, James Conner went out with an injury, starting running back, and Juju Smith-Schuster went out with a concussion, if I'm not mistaken, that game as well.
That's correct.
So they were playing a little shorthanded, but still, it took away from a good victory, and Cleveland could have rolled off of that momentum, but that really just sort of just put a sour note in the whole situation. So it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, also when it comes to Myles Garrett, he already had two separate incidents this year. He punched Delaney Walker in the first game of the season, and he got fined for that. And also, when they played the New York Jets, he delivered a pair of late hits on Trevor Siemian. And the second, that's the one that put Siemian out of the game and out of the season with an ankle injury. So the numbers I'm looking at here, Myles Garrett has already been fined $50,000 this season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's $50,000 for the season, but there's no telling how much more he got to pay after this melee. I mean, you swinging the helmet, man. I mean, he should have just went a la Kyle Turley and just hurled that thing down the field and be like, hey, you want to go and come get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, he should have took the Kyle Turley route. You know what I mean? Hey, man.
That would have been funny.
Oh, yeah, that would have been hilarious, man. But this is crazy, man. But like you said, man, the Browns are hitting their stride, man. They're on a two-game winning streak. And, it's that time of the year they start clicking. But we shall see. We shall see. Another subject we want to opine on, Lamar Jackson had a stellar performance against the Houston Texans. The question I pose to the money man Scottie D and the almighty Be Live, do you think with this performance, Lamar Jackson has really solidified his case as the clear-cut MVP for this season? Scottie D, you go first.
I don't know about clear-cut, but he's definitely in the conversation. I mean, I don't think any of us predicted – well, we didn't predict it. We had our chance to predict who we thought was going to be the the studs coming out of that division. And I think we all said Cleveland wasn't quite ready. It's going to be Pittsburgh. And we kind of overlooked the Ravens, which means we overlooked what we thought Lamar Jackson was going to do. None of us saw this coming. I know I didn't. I know watching Lamar Jackson play in college, I always said he's a heck of an athlete who can run really fast and hits a lot of wide-open guys. And I thought that Deshaun Watson should have won the Heisman Trophy instead of Lamar Jackson. All roads lead to Dabo for you there, Be Live.
Oh boy!
But Lamar Jackson, man, he looks like he was built for this. He doesn't look like the game is too fast for him or too big for him or anything, man. He's just out there balling, doing it big. I mean, that's a good team that the Ravens beat on Sunday in Houston. So yeah, he's got to be at this point, I'd say, near the top of the list when it comes to mentioning MVP candidates. I know just a couple weeks ago we were talking about our halfway season MVPs, and I don't even think we brought him up. We talked Aaron Rodgers and McCaffrey and Russell Wilson, but yeah, he's definitely in there. I mean, there's still a lot of football left to be played. 7 games remain, so anything can happen. But yeah, he's definitely got to be on that short list.
Yep. Bilal, what you think about Lamar Jackson? All feelings aside, so how you feel? Because we know how you feel about him.
I'm like I said, all feelings aside, I'm gonna give a professional answer as best I can. Right now, the MVP race is a two-man race between Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson. As much as I want to take Christian McCaffrey out of the MVP race, the Panthers are 5-5.
Yeah.
If the Panthers were 7-3, 8-2, he's absolutely number one. But it's just, I mean, he can only do so much, and that's why usually it goes to a quarterback. And I mean, right now, just the way both Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson are playing, it's going to be a fight to the finish, though. Like, I think right now, with the Seahawks just beating the 49ers, I think Russell Wilson is slightly ahead, because I think if the stats are correct, Russell Wilson still has only thrown one interception. Like, he's got unreal numbers right now. But Lamar Jackson with that dual threat, I mean, it's tough. It's almost a coin flip. I'm gonna give Russell Wilson the slight lead, but it's almost a coin flip. And it's gonna be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out. But I have to give it to Lamar Jackson.
Russell Wilson has thrown 2 interceptions they're on a bye week. 2 interceptions in 9 games to 23 touchdowns. Yeah,
that's MVP numbers.
Yeah. Passing, for close to 2,737 yards and 23 touchdowns, 2 interceptions with a quarterback rating of 114.9. So,
Jesus.
Yes.
That quarterback rating is insane. That's got to be close to a record. Yeah. I mean, can we stat check that possibly? Because I didn't even think. I knew the guy was good, but 114.9 is unheard of.
Yeah, that's just crazy. So, and then you have Lamar Jackson. He currently, let's look at his stats right fast here. He's projected to throw 30 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Right now, he's at 19-5, and his quarterback rating is 106.3. So he's on par with his projections. And if I'm looking correctly, I saw a stat last night where he's number 10 in the league in rushing with 763 yards. Are you serious? Are you serious? I mean, I knew Lamar. I mean, I've watched Lamar Jackson for a while. I knew he was good coming out of college. And I didn't know how well he was going to gel in the pros. Matter of fact, I'm looking at the numbers right now. 788 rushing yards, and ahead of him is Derrick Henry with 832 and Zeke with 833. So he's in the top 10 in rushing. Are you serious? Like, what in the hell is going on?
Yeah, that's what scares me about him too, though. That's injury risk for a guy that runs that much. But so far he's been smart and hasn't been taking a lot of hits. But that to me, that's a risk. Hey, guys, Eddy just mentioned something that I hadn't thought was kind of changing the subject, but the Seahawks are playing the Eagles next week. That's 2 weeks in a row the Eagles are playing the Patriots and Seahawks coming off of a bye week. That's I think that would really bother me if I was an Eagles fan, but I hate them, so it doesn't. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Jeez. Jug.
Jab,
Come on,
jab, jab.
Seahawks. Let's go. I'm a Seahawks fan this week.
All right, B-Line.
Wow.
So to answer that question, let's see. Aaron Rodgers from 2005 to 2019 had a QBR of 103.2. And then Russell Wilson's not too far behind with 101.3 from 2012 to now. And Drew Brees is third with 97.7. And Tom Brady is fourth with 97.5. So, he is on a torrid pace. So looking at this, because I was thinking yesterday, I was like, man, you know what? When I said the Patriots might not have might have an easy route to the Super Bowl, they might have to get under. They might have to worry about this hurdle called the Baltimore Ravens, because they made that trade to go get Marcus Peters during the midseason to an already solidified defense. The defense has always been good, and it's a classic case of the defense complementing the offense, and the Ravens are good. So their next few games, let's see, on the road at the Rams, and then they got a home game December 1st. That's a pivotal game against the 49ers. Let's see, December 8th, they're on the road against the Bills, at home versus the Jets, at home against the Browns, and they close out the regular season at home against the Steelers. So I think they got a chance to lock up the number 2 seed. I mean, I think the only few games that may give them trouble, the 49ers and the Bills.
Yeah,
just like we said.
I think they're going to need to lock up the number 1 seed, because if they have to go to New England in January, I still like my chances with Tom Brady and Belichick. So I still think they need to. They can't slip up, and they have to hope to see New England drop a couple, which they're going to do this weekend because the Dallas Cowboys are coming to town, baby.
Oh, boy, here we go. Cowboys, Patriots. We got some marquee games coming up this upcoming weekend. And that's it for the Week 11 recap. That was in the NFL. Moving right along to college football. Week 12. Wow, 12 weeks in the books. I thought Week 5 the season was passing by, but here we are at Week 12. Some of the notable games: number 3, Clemson stomps Wake Forest 52-3. Ohio State destroys Rutgers 56-21. In a competitive game, Georgia, number 4, defeats number 12 Auburn 21-14. Number 1, LSU, the Fighting Ed Orgerons, defeats the Ole Miss Rebels 58-37. Anybody play defense? Anybody? Defense? Bueller? I guess not. Over. Yeah, take the over. Number 6, Oregon defeats Arizona 34-6, and the number 5 Alabama defeats Mississippi State 38-7. But that came at the cost of Tua being injured, and from what they say, he is out for the rest of the season. Scottie D, does that affect Alabama's chances of even sniffing the playoffs?
I don't know. We were talking about this a couple episodes ago, how they made a quarterback change. Nick Saban made a quarterback change at halftime of the national championship game, so he has confidence in his backup player. So I'm not saying Alabama's not going to keep winning games. I don't know that that's going to be the factor of them getting into the playoffs anyway. It looks like Georgia's probably going to leapfrog them, I guess, into the top 4. And it looks like Georgia will be playing LSU. I guess that the outcome of that game is going to determine who stays in the top 4. I mean, I'm pretty sure I like Clemson to beat South Carolina and stay in there. So I don't know if it has an effect on Alabama getting into that playoff, but I hate it for the young man, though. This kid burst onto the scene and electrified college football, and he cannot stay healthy. And I remember just a couple weeks ago thinking, this kid might might not have an NFL type of physique. I mean, he just is injury prone, and this is devastating to his chances of him playing at the next level. I mean, you mentioned it to me in a text over the weekend, Eddie, that if this is like the Bo Jackson injury, then this kid's going to be done. I mean, and it could be that type of injury. I don't know if we know the extent yet. I think he's having surgery on Monday, right?
Yeah.
So I hate it for him. I don't know that it's going to affect Alabama, the team. I think it's got to a certain extent, but the team is still so stacked. But for Tua himself, man, I hate seeing what could be the possible end of his playing career go down like that.
When it comes to that hip, man, once you injure that hip, it's different. Like,
Yeah,
it is different because once you injure that hip, man, it's not the same. And I don't remember the exact. I think Bo Jackson had to have a number of surgeries to finally fix his hip, but by that time it was over and done with. So it is, like you said, Scottie D, man, it's sad to see the legend of Tua possibly end on a career-ending hip injury. That's just not good. Be like, where you stand up on Alabama and Tua and everything related to the college football playoffs.
Well, I'll start off with Tua real quick. Report from his doctor saying that he will be able to recover successfully.
Okay.
So like it's not a career ending, is from what I've been gathering. Now, as far as Alabama's chances moving forward, I think the committee already stated their case as far as like Alabama's chances. Alabama would need help. They would need Georgia to lose their last game against Georgia Tech. They would need. I think that if Oregon wins out, Alabama doesn't have a chance. If Georgia beats LSU, Alabama doesn't have a chance. Like, I think if and when LSU beats Georgia, that'll take Georgia out of the playoffs, and I think that will bring up the one-loss Pac-12 champion. And I think Oregon would have the better chance of making it before Utah, because I'm not sure about Utah's one loss, but Oregon's one loss was a close one to Auburn, which, of course, the committee gives the SEC such high regard. So, I mean, you know how I feel about that. But, I mean, like, Alabama would need a lot of help, and even with that, Alabama still would also have to beat Auburn, which now is it's a little bit tougher. Not discounting Matt Jones by any means, but I mean Auburn's going to give them hell. It's not going to be easy. So we'll see. There's a lot of writing still on the wall.
Yeah, you are so correct about that. It's a lot that can happen between now and then. A whole hell of a lot that can happen between now and then. And as the Almighty Beli mentioned, that lone loss of Utah came at the hands of the Southern Cal Trojans. So, and Southern Cal, they haven't really been the same, after that. They've been falling in and out of the top 25, here today, gone tomorrow, be back next week, see you next month. And that's been the inconsistency of, the University of Southern California. And, so it's going to be real interesting to see what is going on in the world of the college football playoffs, because the new rankings come out later today, but as they still stand right now, LSU number 1, Ohio State number 2, Clemson 3, Georgia 4, Alabama 5, and Oregon 6. That's college football poll. In the AP, not much has changed, and the coach poll, not much has changed neither.
Yeah, but you know how much fun this is getting right now. I mean, this is awesome. For how many years we were deprived of this kind of scenarios. Mm-hmm. When it was coming down to BCS, and before that, the coaches and AP voting on the rankings. Man, this is wonderful getting those top 4 teams in there. I would still even be open to the top 8. I mean, that's a whole other discussion, but I'm having so much more fun with college football these days. I used to say that all the time. I used to say I don't get into college football because there's no playoff. Well, now there has been these last couple of years. Man, it is so much more exciting to have more teams open to the discussion, watching all these different scenarios play out. So, yeah, just wanted to throw that in there. How excited and how much, I'm looking forward to these next couple weeks here to see how all this stuff unpacks for the college football playoff.
Yeah, it damn sure makes it watchable. You know what I'm saying? It damn sure makes it watchable as opposed to two teams playing in like a bowl game and then
there's just more games that have meaning. There's more.
Exactly.
There's more to come out of it. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah, because for a while it was like, the BCS mathematics and points, and it just seemed, and for a period of time, the BCS championship, bowl championship series, it just seemed a little bit too analytical.
Well, not only that, Eddie, but at the end of this season, before the bowl season begins, there was a possibility that LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson are all going to be undefeated. That possibility is very real. To have one of those teams not be able to participate in a championship scenario, that's the shame of it. That's what I used to not like. I mean, you got three teams that are undefeated in, all have cases of being called the best team in the country. Now you get to actually settle it on the field rather than talk about, well, they would have done this or we could have done that or this could have happened. We're getting to see it now. So that's what makes this November so much more interesting now this time of year. So
exactly, it's like, you look at it. Okay, these wins and losses, they do have meaning. They do have meaning. If you just like that one loss to Georgia, I mean, they lost against South Carolina, and has it hurt them? Not necessarily, because they're the fourth team in the 14 college football playoff. They were on the outside looking in. Now they're in there.
Yeah, they fought their way back in, so their season wasn't completely ruined by it, because in the old scenario, a 4 team would have no chance at being into the national championship picture. If you have a bad day or if you have a key player injured and you suffer a loss, then you were pretty much eliminated by the old scenario. And a lot of people like that. I just didn't happen to be one of them. I love what we're watching here. So Here we go, man. Seatbelts on for these last couple weeks of November.
Yep, because let's see, we have rivalry games being played. It's inching close to Thanksgiving weekend and towards the end of the season, and you got that rivalry game being played, and after that you got the conference championships, and we just have to sit and wait from that. Then after that, we got bowl season. We got 1,001 one bowl games to watch. I'll probably watch 5 if I got any concern. I'll probably watch 5 or whatever the hell is on TV. Sitting in the middle of the day, nothing going on. Hey, I ain't got to be to work. Let's watch the poinsettia.
That's it. The poinsettia bowl. Can't wait to get to that one.
The points,
the pinstripe bowl, or all those fun ones. But.
Yeah, the Pinstripe Bowl and the Alamo Bowl and the Sun-Kissed Sunfruit Bowl?
Yeah, they're on their way, baby. Bowl season's coming.
Yeah, they got one in Alabama, the Birmingham Bowl. Are you serious? Like, and you can barely get anybody to show up, but they put them on TV. They're getting paychecks, and what do we know? We're just some non-professionals posing as professionals talking about sports.
That's right.
All right. And that's it for the Week 12 wrap-up. That is college football.
And now, our favorite part of the show, the choices of the voices.
Once again, thank you to the wonderful and lovely Miss Button for the intro to the choices of the voices section. As she said, it's the favorite part of the show. She's not lying. She's telling the truth. We love this part of the show, which goes to show we really appreciate our listeners, the returning ones and the new ones, for their participation in the choices of the voices section. Scottie D, this is a good one. And give our listeners, the old ones and the new ones, a reminder of what this week's question was.
Well, it wasn't an original question. It wasn't mine, but it was something I thought would be fun for our listeners to talk about. And that is, who on your favorite NFL team is on your Mount Rushmore? Who do you think in the history of your NFL franchise, your favorite NFL franchise, or your top 4 basically is how that comes out. So it's difficult, man. If you have especially when you're like the Dallas Cowboys and you just have a history of Hall of Famers left and right, man. You know, actually, it's difficult if you're a Carolina Panther fan because you have a shorter history, but you still have some nice names to choose from. Narrowing it down to 4 it's not easy. So, yeah, it was cool. It was interesting to see some of our answers. So, who do we have there, Eddie? Cool. What do you have in front of you there?
All right, let's see what we got here. Leading on first, we got a friend to the show, fellow sports bro himself, JR Speaks. And as we know, he is a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And he gave us this in no particular order. He said Brian Dawkins, LaShawn McCoy, Donovan McNabb, and I like this one, Reggie White.
Yeah, okay. Good call there, JR. I was expecting to see Nick Foles up there, but no, those are 4 good ones. I was actually when I saw his answers, I was thinking about Wilbert Montgomery. I remember him as their all-time leading rusher, but McCoy did pass him up by not much, I don't think, but he's now their all-time leading rusher. So hard to argue against those picks there. So good call, JR. I still hate the Eagles, and I still hope Seattle beats them, but good call on your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I thought he probably would have slid. What's the guy named the wide receiver, Harold Carmichael?
Yeah, he was another good one back in the early '80s with Jaworski and Montgomery. That was a good team.
Yeah, I thought and him, for the Eagles, I was looking for Carmichael and Randall Cunningham. That's that.
Yeah, but McNabb's their all-time stud pass. He's their top passer in history. So
he's the man. So
be there.
Yeah, so it's kind of as soon as he left, they went through the Doug Peterson era, and who else? Kevin Cobb, and the dark period, and then once Donovan McNabb came in, 1, 2, 3, 4, straight NFC title games. So it's kind of hard to dispute that. Very hard to dispute that.
Yeah, McNabb's definitely there. Yeah.
Yes. Up next, we got Rodney. What's up, Rodney? He back like bad breath in the morning.
My man.
He's a Dolphins fan. He says Dan Marino, Larry Zonka, Jason Taylor, and Zach Thomas.
Shame on you, Rodney. You left off Don Shula, like the winningest coach ever. And okay, I know he mentioned before on the show how much he liked Jason Taylor, thought he was underrated. If you're going to put him on there, you got to leave Zach Thomas off, bro. You got to have Shula up there. I actually put that on there, and he said that was kind of his debate of which of those two. But Don Shula has to be on the Dolphins Mount Rushmore. Sorry, Rodney. I'm going to disagree with you, brother.
Oh, yeah. Because Shula was the coach when they went 16-0, right?
Yes, it was actually 17. It was a 14.
I'm sorry, 17. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a 14-game season, and then playoffs and Super Bowl. So yeah, he's the only coach of an undefeated team of all time. He is on the Mount Rushmore of Miami.
Yeah. Next up, we got Craig Burns. He says all about the big stage. He's talking Patriots. Speaking of coaches on Mount Rushmore, we got our first one: Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, Gronk, and Julian Edelman.
Interesting, because all those guys are there either now or Gronk was there as early or as late as this past season. I don't know that I can argue against those guys because these are the Patriots' glory years right now. I would have thought maybe there a couple of those defensive players from the early run might have made it onto there, but
Brewski.
Yeah,
Vrabel,
Harrison. There were some really good.
Yeah,
there were some really good players there, but I don't know that any of them stood out head and shoulders above the rest. That was just always a really good team defense. You didn't have like a Reggie White that jumped off the page at you. As far as the Patriots go, Uncle Max mentioned John Hanna last week. He was from the '80s. When they're all-time great linemen, but these, like I said, these are the glory years of the Patriots right now. They've been on a remarkable run the last 20 years, and these guys are representative of that era of the team that went to the Super Bowl for the past 3 years too. So I guess I can't argue. I mean, Brady and Belichick, they're like on the Mount Rushmore pretty much of the NFL at this point.
Yeah,
you would say. So those two are given, and Gronk, he's going to be playing for the Cowboys soon. That's what the not going to happen, but Gronk is among the the Patriots all-time greats. So yeah, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, that was not truthful, man. For with the Patriots, I mean Drew Bledsoe, and
yeah, and Moss wasn't there long enough, I don't think, and and Deion Branch wasn't as quite effective as Edelman. Edelman's been outstanding.
Yeah.
He's been probably Brady's best target over the course of his career. So
yeah.
I'll give it to him. I'll give you that one.
Yeah, gotta give him. Yeah, you gotta give him that. I would say Corey Dillon, but he wasn't. He was good, but he wasn't like
and not there throughout a long period of time either.
Yeah, that's great.
They haven't had a running back really that has been like their Zeke or Adrian Peterson guy who was like they're just they've shuffled the deck when it comes to the running backs through the years. So none of them would be a candidate either. So I'm okay with those choices.
Yeah, because as far as that running backs for the Patriots, you had Corey Dillon on the other side of his career. You had Steven Jackson on the other side of his career, and then you had
Kevin Falk. James White kind of played that change the pace role.
Yep, Kevin Falk, James White. I just had somebody in my head, and I freaking forgot who he was. Was he a running back? LeGarrette Blount. Yeah. And then, the legend of Jonas Gray, who people tend to forget. I forgot until I was reminded a few days ago.
One game, I think, right?
Yeah, the legend of Jonas damn Gray. So there we go, Craig Burns. He said Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, Gronk, and Julian Edelman. Moving right along to Pete, the terrible Talansky. New York Giants fans in the house. He said, number one, of course, is Lawrence Taylor, LT. Number two is Michael Strahan. Number three is Eli. And we got another coach popping up. Number four, Bill Parcells.
Interesting. Definitely LT and Parcells. I like those. I guess Eli, I actually kind of think Phil Simms may have been the better of those quarterbacks, but he only won one Super Bowl. Eli won two, and he has the longevity, never missed any games. So, that's probably, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Those are both good choices as far as Giant history goes. Who else did he say? Oh, Strahan.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty good player there. I can't think of a whole lot of the Giants like the Patriots didn't have like a receiver that jumps off a page at you. Tiki Barber was a pretty solid running back for a lot of years there, but I don't know that they would, overtake Strahan. Strahan, I think, was there for both of their Super Bowl wins. He was Eli's teammate both of those. So, yeah, I'm okay with those choices too.
Yep, pretty good.
Because it's not up to me to pick. None of those these teams I'm debating, they're not even my favorite team. So I'm just kind of playing along here. So this is our listeners' choices here. So
yeah, and
I did have to make a correction with Rodney for not putting Don Shula on the Dolphins one. So
oh boy.
Who else you got up there? Is Uncle Max on our show this week?
Yes, sir. Uncle Max is here, baby. Uncle Max is here. He said, "Whoa, boy, this is a really hard question." And he also
very hard for him because the Packers have been around for 3 million years.
Yeah, 3 million years. They were here. They were with the dinosaurs as well too.
Right.
He said there are well more than 4. He said, but these 4 guys, that made Green Bay Title Town. I think him and somebody got into it about Title Town too. Curly Lambeau, Vince Lombardi, Don Hudson, and Bart Starr.
Okay. I think somewhere on there you have to find room for Brett Favre.
You got to, man, because he bought you some titles. He did bring you some titles.
Well, he brought him one.
He bought him one. Yeah.
He was 1-1 in the Super Bowl, and he was the face of the franchise for many years. He was the Iron Man of the Packers, and he was NFL's all-time passing leader. I think he has to be there somewhere. I don't know if you take off Don Hudson or Lambeau. Lombardi, I mean, the trophy's named after him. So,
yeah.
But the field's named after Curly Lambeau. So that is so hard, man. That is so hard. And Bart Starr won the first 2 Super Bowls. So, yeah, I mean, I think I would probably put Favre up there and take Don Hudson off. That would be probably my only change there.
Yeah, because that 1 and 2, those are that's just solid. You can't dispute 1 or 2 because think about it. The Lambeau Leap, the Vince
Yeah.
Lombardi Trophy. Nope, you cannot dispute that. I don't care if you put a 1 or 2 or 2 or 1. At this point, it does not matter. Thank you, Uncle Max, for your input on the choices of the voices. Yeah, those first 2s are locked. First 2s are locks, and 3 and 4 kind of debatable, but we get it. Mike Davis, Pittsburgh Steelers fans. His Mount Rushmore for Steelers are number 1, Mean Joe Green. Number 2, Rod Woodson. Number 3, Hines Ward. And number 4, Jerome Bettis. Now, Pittsburgh, like Dallas and Green Bay, are those storied franchises that have they have a lot of Hall of Famers and championships between the 3 teams. So it's kind of one of those things where like, oh, wow, if I pick this one, and leave that one out, it's just real hard to pick a solid 1 through 4. But from the looks of it, man, Mean Joe Green, I get it. Rod Woodson, I get it. Hines Ward, and Jerome Bettis, okay.
Boy, I think Chuck Noll has to be on there. He was the leader, the head coach of 4 Super Bowls and I think it was 6 years. So I think you have to have one of your quarterbacks, Bradshaw or Roethlisberger, either one of them.
Yep.
Both. Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls, and a lot of people say that Bradshaw wasn't as great a quarterback, and that the Steelers' defense was so good, and he had Franco, Harrison, Rocky Bleier on the ground. Man, there was a lot of depth on that Steelers 70s team, but you got to have the head coach of that, I think, and I think Bradshaw. Big Ben won a couple Super Bowls. And I think it's harder to do in the modern era to build that team and keep winning just because of the salary cap free agency era we're in. That the Steelers of the 70s were able to keep that team together for that the majority of that decade. Hines Ward, I think he's their all-time leading receiver, and Bettis is probably their all-time leading running back. So it's hard to take them off. It's hard to argue the guys that he chose to put on there. Mean Joe Green was pretty much the cornerstone of that defense of the 70s. So it's hard to take him off. That's just such a hard question for the Steelers to narrow that down to 4. But somewhere on there you have to find Chuck Noll. I think it had or heck, Art Rooney for that matter. He's the one that turned that Steeler franchise around in the 70s, and the Rooney name is iconic in Pittsburgh. They're still like the old school business. They've had since I've been born, they've had 3 head coaches. That's insane, especially in this day and age. So that's a really, really tough one, and I can't really I can't pinpoint who I would definitely take off of there. I probably would take Hines Ward off of his choices and put Chuck Noll up there, and I would probably put Bradshaw over Mean Joe Green just because the quarterback is the de facto leader of the team. But it's just that's just such an incredibly hard question.
Then you got 2 players we forgot to mention, Swan and was it Stallworth?
Stallworth, yeah.
This is like when was it Jack Lambert?
Jack Lambert and Jack
Ham. Yeah, this is
L.C.
like
Greenwood.
This is like I'm looking at the Steelers. I'm like, oh man, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of Hall of Famers and championships to sort through, which is a great problem to have if you're a Steeler fan. But
yeah,
I think Chuck Noll was where you start with their Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Trey Duke, the one and only, our beloved fire starter.
Here we go.
Himself. Your boy.
Trey Dizzle.
All right, Scott. Hold on to your trousers for this one.
All right.
Okay.
What we got?
Number 1, Emmitt Smith.
All right. Off to an okay start.
Number 2, Tony Romo.
You lost me.
Number 3, Larry Allen.
Oh, man.
And number 4, Tom Landry.
Okay, so he has 2 on there that are definites. Tom Landry, no question about it. And Emmitt Smith, no question about it. Those 2 have to be on there. That leaves us with 2 spots. And there is, like the Steelers, there is a lot of championships and Hall of Famers to sort through. I mean, I don't know how you don't consider Bob Lilly. You know, he was Mr. Cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
And this question, unlike other questions I've asked before where I've said, who is the best you've seen, and that eliminates people from the past, this is not like that. We're saying in the history of your franchise. Tony Romo is so far off the list.
Oh, boy.
I mean, come on, Trey. And Trey's argument of the Romo stats and not being surrounded with great players, it just, you know, here's the thing with Tony Romo. People tell me all the time that he was overrated, and he was not. Tony Romo was an incredibly gifted quarterback, incredible athlete. He was a self-made guy. He went from Eastern Illinois to the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys without being drafted. He didn't go to a big Division I school.
Mm-mm.
You know, he didn't have any of that stuff. The problem with Tony Romo was he did not have a really good guru to develop him. He didn't have a Belichick or a Walsh or even a Sean Payton to help bring his career along. He had Wade Phillips and Jason Garrett. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, look no further. So the accomplishments of Romo's career, I find remarkable. Of all that he did, I feel like he did largely on his own.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine if he would have caught a younger Bill Parcells and had Parcells been with him throughout his career, how he may have developed in that way? Tony Romo, with the Bill Parcells over the course of his career, I honestly believe would have won a few Super Bowls.
Yep.
However, that's not what happened. We're going by what actually happened, and Romo broke our hearts year in and year out in late seasons opportunities to get to the playoffs or win playoff games with bad turnovers. He was known for it. Tony Romo didn't take care of the football enough. He threw a pick in a key situation over and over again, and it was maddening because we were watching how talented this guy was, and you'd get let down in the big moments. Having said all that, he is not on the all-time top. You know, he's not. Tony Romo, by all accounts, is probably not even going to be a Hall of Famer, despite having really good numbers, just because his postseason record was lousy. So you have a franchise that won 5 Super Bowls and many Hall of Famers. Tony Romo doesn't have a prayer to make the Mount Rushmore. You have to look at Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach and Drew Pearson and Michael Irvin. I mean, there's a lot to sort through there. Larry Allen is not a terrible choice because he's a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
I think you got to go Emmitt Smith, Tom Landry for sure. And then I think I have to go with Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach. I think you have to have both of those quarterbacks up there. And Emmitt's the all-time leading rusher, so he's a no-brainer. But there's just it's like the Steelers problem. The Cowboys have a lot of guys to sort through. You could even look at, like I said, Bob Lilly and Tex Schramm, who was he's the one that put the Cowboys of the 60s together and was instrumental in getting the moniker America's Team. I mean, there was which people hate, but that's okay. The Cowboys offensive line of the Aikman Irvin era was outstanding. You know, there was a lot of guys on that line. Jason Witten has had a remarkable career. There's a lot of guys that, I mean, Tony Romo, come on, Trey. You gotta do better than that, buddy. Do better.
No, hashtag do better. I'm like, it's like you said, like Moose Johnston, Roger Staubach.
Yeah, Tony Dorsett actually.
Tony Dorsett. I'm over here that once again, just like the Steelers.
Dorsett on there with over Staubach or Aikman, but I think I have to go with the quarterbacks and when it comes to the Cowboys because they were the guys that led them to the promised land. So that's my 4. My Mount Rushmore: Emmitt Smith, Tom Landry, Troy Aikman, Roger Staubach, and Tony Dorsett hanging off the side looking up at him.
Barely.
Yeah.
And you can't forget Jimmy Johnson either.
And Jimmy Johnson, had he been there longer, would probably be there. Jimmy won the 2 Super Bowls, but so did Coach Landry. Coach Landry was just iconic, though, and he was there for 29 years. Jimmy Johnson was there for a lot shorter period of time. And I honestly believe if he stayed, the Cowboys would have won at least one more Super Bowl, possibly a couple more. But, coexisting with Jerry Jones proved to be too much.
Tom Landry, man, that's the fedora, man.
That's
the fedora. I mean, and to an extent, you could say Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah. I mean,
not Jimmy Johnson. I'm sorry, Jerry Jones.
No,
yeah.
No.
He said no.
He would have been there if he would have done more for us over the past 25 years. But he's still resting on the laurels of the early 90s and not getting it done. I mean, Cowboy fans are dying. We are dying for some playoff success and haven't had it. And largely it's because Jerry Jones is not only the owner, but he's the general manager. And
doing too much.
And the general manager is not going on that Mount Rushmore, not with that record, not with that 500 record. So.
No. The almighty Be Live. I'm going to ask you. Now, we're both Carolina Panthers fans, right? The franchise has been around for 25 years. So, who does the almighty Be Live think is included in the Mount Rushmore of the Carolina Panthers franchise?
This one was incredibly difficult for me because, one part of me goes back to the 2003 Super Bowl. One part of me goes to the 2015 Super Bowl. The highs and the lows, there's a couple people that, without question. Steve Smith, absolutely. Agent 89, he's number one on my list. Absolutely. Sam Mills, just for what he brought to the team and his fight and everything, keep pounding. That's Sam Mills. He's absolutely up there. Number 3, I'm gonna be it's gonna be interesting. This could be subject for debate. I'm putting Christian McCaffrey up there.
Oh, okay.
I'm putting Christian McCaffrey. I know it's only a short body of work, but I mean, Panthers been around for 25 seasons. A little less storied than most of the franchises. But just what he's brought to the table these past couple of years, he's put the team on his back. And I think that alludes to number 4, which is going to be the most controversial for me altogether. It's going to be Cam Newton. Has to be Cam Newton.
Yeah, I wouldn't say number 4 is controversial. I wouldn't say that because he brought the franchise, to the Super Bowl. He did 2 firsts. Well, not 2 firsts, but he brought him to the Super Bowl. The second Super Bowl in franchise history, and he also brought an MVP trophy to Charlotte.
So, and that's where I know the fan base is divided right now, but what he's brought to the table, the Panthers wouldn't be a $2.4 billion franchise if it wasn't for Cam Newton.
Cam Newton absolutely has to be there.
He got to be there.
So, I have a little debate on a couple of your other ones, but I'd like to hear who Eddy has first because he's also a Carolina guy.
What I'm going to do real quick, though, I am going to sign off because, like I said, I am at work and everything. I appreciate all the listeners out there. Keep following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Your boy, the Almighty Be Live. Check me out. And to my 2 guys with me, my bros, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and head on out. Y'all do what it do, man. I love you guys. Thanks, man.
All right, Be Live. We'll holler at you later.
Later.
All right. So me being a Carolina Panthers fan, ooh, buddy, he took about 3 that I had planned. Like I said, the franchise has been around for 25 years. I would say on the Mount Rushmore for the Carolina Panthers, I would have to say Steve Smith, the all-time leading receiver in franchise history.
Yes.
Before the grit and determination and fire that he brought to the team. Every time he played with a chip on his shoulder. Set aside the fact that, he punched two teammates in the mouth and in the face during training camp. But hey, he's competitive, man. And you talking about a guy that came into the league as a punt returner who went drafted in the late rounds coming from Utah. and he pretty much worked his way up to become one of the all-time, best receivers. So that's Steve Smith. Number 2, I would say Sam Mills. Reason being, it's a sentimental pick because, as most of you listeners know that people want to pay attention, my mom passed away last December from colon cancer. And Sam Mills, he passed away from cancer. I want to say it was 2000 during the playoff run in the early 2000s. Sam Mills made a statement. He said, "When I found out I had cancer, I can do one or two things. I could quit or I could keep pounding. I decided to keep pounding. I'm a fighter. You're a fighter. Keep pounding." That has a sentimental place to me because when I went through school, there was plenty of days like, you know what? I don't feel like doing it. But I would look at the picture of Sam Mills and I would hear in that head, hear in my head, keep pounding, keep pounding, keep pounding, which has become the mantra of the organization is to keep pounding. So from an inspirational standpoint and a playing standpoint, Sam Mills is all-time up there. I don't care what anybody says. I don't give a damn. Don't matter. He is up there. He is up there. Third, I would have to say Cam Newton. As B-Live stated, with Cam Newton's current, injury state, and it's divided. Let's be real. It's divided. Some people think he should stay. Some people think he should get the hell on. But Cam Newton made the Panthers must-see football. Real exciting to watch, especially when they went on that Super Bowl run. Oh, my God, on that Super Bowl run. I was living in Atlanta talking trash like, yeah, we going to the Super Bowl. Forget y'all. We better than y'all. We going to the Super Bowl. Even though the Falcons gave us that one loss at the end of the year, we trounced everybody on the way to the Super Bowl, only to fall short against the Broncos. So that's Steve Smith, Sam Mills, and Cam Newton. The fourth one is what really has me stuck. I had a few options, but I went ahead and went with Luke Kuechly.
Okay.
Linebacker, like all-world linebacker Luke Kuechly. When they first drafted him, I'm like, who in the hell is Luke Kuechly? Then I saw the tape. Then I saw him play. And I was like, it's a perfect fit for Carolina. Like he's been good every year he's been in the league. Every freaking year. Leading the league in tackles, just having a nose for the ball, smart, ability to make plays. He's quiet. He doesn't make a lot of noise like a lot of players do to get in trouble and stuff. Luke Kuechly is, he comes in, he's about his business, and he makes it do what it do. So that's my Mount Rushmore. Steve Smith, Sam Mills, Cam Newton, and Luke Kuechly. Scottie D, Jake Delhomme damn near made it.
Yeah, I could see a case for Jake Delhomme. The one guy I'm going to have to disagree with you guys on, and I mean, it's your team. I'm just saying for me personally, Sam Mills, as great as he was only there for a very short time. I would probably, setting all sentimental reasons aside, I would probably not have him up there, and I would have Julius Peppers there instead because
That's right. Julius
Peppers was a stud for Carolina for several years. I know he left and then came back, if I'm not mistaken. But
yep.
I think he was more in that dominating defensive. I just think he fits the role of the dominant defensive player that I would have him up there. Heck, I might even put John Casey up there. That dude was he was I think he was there from the first season and there for 15 years or so. The first 15 years he was with Carolina.
Yep.
Probably, if I was to guess, I'd say he's probably their all-time leading scorer. I don't know that to be true, but I would guess that as a kicker. But and you could make a case for Jake Delhomme because he got them to their first Super Bowl. His overall career wasn't probably as good as Cam Newton's. I think Cam Newton and Steve Smith are locks. Those two are definitely. I think those two, no question about it. And I would probably go with Julius Peppers and And probably Luke Kuechly. I think Luke Kuechly is probably a good choice as well. So, but
Mm.
that's your team, and those are your choices. So I can't say that you're wrong.
And but I'm not gonna lie, Scott. It was 1 and 2 were for sure loss, but it got kind of difficult. I was Julius Peppers, Jake Delhomme, John Casey, hell, Thomas Davis to an extent.
Yeah,
Despite
and even you got to consider your coaches, Fox and Rivera, because they led you to those Super Bowl berths.
Yeah.
Had either of them won the Super Bowl, I think they would have to be in the cement up there. But
they got a spot. They definitely have a spot. Yeah, they definitely have a spot. I mean, because somebody, but what you think about George Seifert? Man, George Seifert was there for a paycheck. All right.
Yeah, he was there winding down, and he was there during the glory years of Rodney Peete and Chris Wenke. And
oh Jesus,
Shaminga Biakabatuka, I think.
Yeah, Shamunga Biakabatuka, yeah, him too.
It's one of my favorite names to say, the Shaminga Biakabatuka.
Shout out to JR, Rodney, Craig, Pete, Uncle Max, Trey Duke, and Mike Davis for participating in this week's edition of the Choices of the Voices. The Almighty B-Life, he already gave his. So, Scottie D, what is next week's question for the Choices of the Voices?
Well, we kind of set this up last week. B-Live had the idea of going from the top 4 to the bottom 4. So we're going to ask you who on your favorite NFL team are your bottom feeders. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of guys that did not make the team, guys that don't. We're not talking about that. We're talking about guys who were on your team for a period of time that you thought, why in the blue hell is this guy still on my team? He's dragging us down. He sucks, but he still remained on the team. We're not talking about punters, or
no.
I guess we could, I guess, but but you guys get the gist of what we're asking of you here. It's not guys that came into training camp and got cut. We're not talking about, because obviously you have to have some talent just to make it in the NFL to begin with. We're talking about guys that you felt let down by, guys that just weren't that. You just thought they weren't that good, and you were glad to see them go off your team. So those 4, we're going to ask you for your bottom feeding 4, we'll call it.
Moving right along, we got Pepper. Don't sneeze. I'm just going to throw a ball around, and today, me and Scottie D will just be playing catch. You know how it is, 3 topics, rapid fire style, and I got the ball in hand. I'll go first. I just won't get caught cheating like the Houston Astros did. Did I say that? Ooh, I might get a little bit of heat. Ooh, Scott Hall, spooky fingers. The first pepper point goes out to the referee. I don't know his name, but there was a blatant pass interference that Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, and Heaven Keller could have even seen this past weekend. It was during the Ravens and the Texans game that possibly stopped DeAndre Hopkins from getting a touchdown. I needed that for fantasy purpose, but in the words of the Almighty B-Live, I digress. He was hugging on him. He was tackling on him. And the ref just swallowed his whistle. Do better. Scottie D, here's the ball.
All right, I know a little while back I said I didn't want to talk about Antonio Brown because I can't stand Antonio Brown because I think he's bad for football. And I'm actually happy he's not in the league right now. But if we go back to our very first episode of the show, I said the guy who I thought was really bad for football was Roger Goodell. And Antonio Brown has been whining and crying that this process of investigation has taken too long. And he's right, man. Roger Goodell, I think he finally had a meeting with the league last week that lasted like 8 hours. And I don't know if Antonio Brown deserves to be back in the NFL or not. But at this point, don't you think a ruling needs to be made? Don't you need to move on and let this guy get on with either trying to get back into the league or moving on with his life? This thing with Ezekiel Elliott a few years ago dragged out over 14 months. Deflategate went on forever. I mean, how much investigating is being done when it comes to these things? I think that Roger Goodell likes holding this power over these guys' heads, and I think he's bad for football. And as much as I can't stand Antonio Brown, I actually think in this case they need to help him out and treat him a little bit more fairly than what's going on. Make a decision, Roger Goodell.
As
And that's my
far
decision. My decision is he sucks. On to you, Eddy Kool.
as far as Roger Goodell goes, I look at it like this. Paul Tagliabue set it up for him, right?
He did.
Let's face it, he said it. I mean, the TV deals and all this stuff, and he just ran with it. Because if I'm not mistaken, Roger Goodell, was he a lawyer? Or
I think he may have been.
So, like, he should know, like, look, man, you can't drag out these investigations too long because pretty soon people are not going to a lot of, for sure, certain things going to turn to unsure and uncertain because you lollygag and you waste too much time. In the words of the money man, Scottie D, do better.
Do better, man.
Yeah, do better. Come on, dude. Yeah, Roger Goodell, I'm just... between him and Bud Selig, I don't know. Good God. Bud. All right, second pepper point goes out to Carolina Panthers 2019 MVP candidate Christian McCaffrey. Sad to say, his MVP campaign may be sullied because of the Panthers losing, of their current play. That's a different conversation for a different day. Shout out for him for taking chicken crap and making chicken salad out of it as he reaches 1,000 yards in back-to-back season. Christian McCaffrey currently leads the league in rushing this season with 1,059 yards. Last season, he had 1,098 yards, and he's clearly blow that out the water with a handful of games left. So shout out for CMC, number 22, for making it do what it do, despite the adversity in Charlotte with the quarterback situation for the Carolina Panthers. So run, young man, run. Over to you, Scottie D.
All right, so my Pittsburgh Pirates finally hired a new general manager. They hired Ben Cherington, who was the general manager of the 2013 Boston Red Sox championship team. I don't know what this guy is going to do. I know that he is going to have not nearly the amount of resources he had in Boston, in Pittsburgh. The checkbook's going to be a lot tighter. So before I pass judgment saying I'm excited or this is a bad move, I'm just going to wait and see. The managerial search begins, and the guy that I would like to see him consider is a guy that goes by the name of me. I would love to be the general manager of the Pirates, or the manager of the Pirates. Ben Cherington, call me. Back over to you, Eddy Kool.
Scottie said, look here, man, I'm going to help you out.
I'm not doing anything else, brother.
I can see Scottie D arguing with the umpire, but hey, man, he used to host a podcast with us. He done got too big for us now, but hey, good luck to him.
I'm sure that I can do what Clint Hurdle was doing the last year or two. I'm positive of it.
Yeah, Clint Hurdle. He was doing something. What it was, I don't know.
Oh, and you know what he did last week? He retired. I think he had a job interview with I want to say San Diego or someone like that out west. I think he had the opportunity of interviewing for a job, and I think he's went ahead and announced he's going to retire from baseball. And Clint Hurdle again did some good things in Pittsburgh. I kicked dirt on him on the way out. Clint Hurdle did some nice things. He was the right man for the job at that time. It just the last couple of years, I think he wore out his welcome, and it was time for a change. I don't think he was a terrible manager overall, but I just think that his ideas got a little bit stale towards the end, and it was time for a change. So anyway, moving on from that, Eddy Kool, what else you got, brother?
Actually, you know what? Clint Hurdle, I'll tell you what he could have done. Clint Hurdle could have took that job, right? Clint Hurdle could have took that job in San Diego, but you know what? Weather's nice. I'm done. He could have just took off.
He could have.
And could have
mailed it in and taken a check, but he retired, so good for him.
Yeah, because
wish him the best.
And that's the best thing about it. Clint Hurdle did the right thing, man. You say he could have mailed it in, and San Diego could have got another 100 loss season, and yeah, that's that. That is that. All right. And my third and final pepper point goes out to Carmelo Anthony. All right. As you know, the past few years, Carmelo has been around the league, and I can't find a suitor. He's been all over the place. But from the looks of it, he could be playing in Portland. Yeah, he could be a trailblazer with with Dame Dollar. But let's just hope Carmelo understands you got to come up off the bench, player. You ain't what it used to be. It's set in. Even Tracy McGrady had to come off the bench. So you, sir, are not excluded from coming off the bench. But I just hope Carmelo Anthony can make the most out of an opportunity because a team in need, and from the looks of it, he's found a home, and we shall see what goes on from there. Scottie D, what's your third and final pepper point?
Well, apparently Kyle Busch captured his second NASCAR Cup title this past weekend. I mentioned that only so I can say that I think NASCAR sucks. That's all I have to say about that. Congratulations, Kyle Busch. I can't stand NASCAR. Didn't watch any of it.
He made another left turn.
Sorry if you're a NASCAR fan. I know Matty Ice, one of our listeners, likes the car racing. I just don't. But so that was a cheap swipe at NASCAR. But congratulations to Kyle Busch.
Hey man, it's a champion in every sport, Scottie D.
Hey, I did like the movie Days of Thunder. I did enjoy that flick. It's an old movie, but I liked it.
I was young. I was enthused when I saw him. Hey, this is pretty good. It was good. I will say that it was good. Days of Thunder.
Cole Trickle.
Yeah. Gold Trickle, these names. Won't you put it on me, Ricky Bobby? Oh, man. And with that being said, man, that's another episode of the Sports Bros podcast in the books. But before we leave, Scottie D, where can they reach you at?
Well, I would love for you to reach out and continue your efforts on my Facebook page. Every week I put out the question. This week again, your NFL bottom feeder. So reach out on Facebook and drop me a line and drop us a line on our Sports Bros Facebook page. I'll be easy to find around the North Myrtle Beach area on Trivia Mondays at Bowie's and Trivia Wednesdays at Wild Wing Cafe. So if you get a chance, come out and play. Love to see you.
Yes, indeed. And, of course, I'm the HOC, Eddy Kool. You can check me out on Twitter at the Sports Bros PCast, on YouTube at our Sports Bros channel, and the gathering where we gather the most, the Sports Bros podcast like page on Facebook, 700 plus likes. Also, I think we got over 900 engagements this week alone.
Yeah.
Guess what? We want to keep that up. We really want to keep that up. You can also find me on Facebook as well too, Eddy Kool. Leave me some sports related stuff, fantasy football advice, beer tips. No, I'm joking.
Wow.
So yeah. So check us out. The Sports Bros podcast. Hey, it's three guys talking sports for the fan, by the fan. According to my college degree, I'm a qualified journalist, but I damn sure don't act like it. That's what separates me from everybody else. All right, and with that being said, in closing, do something nice for yourself. And if you can, do something nice for someone else. They're greatly appreciated. Also, see if you can, listeners, if you can hook us up with your Disney Plus password. Yeah. Look out for you boys. It's been another episode of the Sports Bros podcast.
Peace.
Bye.